Hi second grade scholars, welcome to video number 12. Our focus for today is going to be main idea, which is something that we have practiced in previous videos. So today we're going to do a quick review and then I'm going to have you guys do a couple of the passages and questions by yourself. As you recall, our biggest goal this year was to be able to read a lot of the passages by yourself, since you have to be ready for next year, especially when you go into third grade. So we are going to continue practicing that. So again, I'm going to be working with you with the first passage and then answering some questions, and then you're going to try the rest of it on your own. Again, we're going to be reviewing main idea. Before we get started, I want to think about another word of the day. So today we're doing word, and this word rhymes with mouse and people live in it. So think about what word rhymes with mouse and people live in it. See if you get it right, and at the end of the video I will share my answer or the word that I'm thinking about. So again, grab your packets, grab your pencils, and let's get started. Alright scholars, so we haven't talked about main idea we've talked about it in previous videos, but we haven't looked at our anchor chart a lot, so we're going to review that today so that we're ready to answer our questions for today. So when we think about main idea, again, main idea builds off of the main topic. So main topic is one word or phrase that the text is mostly about, and then the main idea is the general idea that an author wishes to convey about the main topic. So if we read about a passage, about bats, it's something about bats' lives, and we see the word bat come up over and over and over again. That's the main topic. So the main topic would be bats. Now the main idea, so let's say that this whole passage talks about where bats live, it talks about what bats eat, it talks about when bats sleep, it talks about where, any type of information about bats, then we know that the main idea of the passage is about the bats' lives. So in order to figure out the main idea, we want to look at the main idea clues. So remember, clue number 1, you want to ask yourself what the text is mostly about. Clue number 2, you want to look at the titles and look at the headings. Clue number 3, there's number 3, you want to look at the pictures. Clue number 4, sometimes the main idea is stated in the first or last sentence. Again, that's not always the case, but you want to look for that clue and think, is that sentence the main idea? If it is, then great. If it's not, then you have to keep looking. And then clue number 5, you want to look for clue words that are used repeatedly. Alrighty? So let's get started. So we are on today's passage. That's yesterday's passage. So today's passage is going to be Unit 8, Day 17. So take a moment to get there and then grab your pencils and let's get ready. Again, remember that during this whole unit, before we start reading, we want to label our passage. So here's our title. Don't get confused. This is another title. The title will usually be in the center of the passage. At the very top. So here's the title and here's the title. So that tells me that these are two different passages. So we're going to focus on the first passage. So I'm going to take a moment to label my paragraph. See if you can label faster than me. I don't even know who's winning. You guys haven't told me yet, but if you guys want to let me know, you can tell me. See who's winning. Paragraph 2, and last but not least, paragraph 3. Alrighty guys. So let's get started. Today's focus is going to be all about main idea. Again, as I told you at the beginning of this video, we're going to read this passage together, figure out the main idea together, and then you guys are going to answer the rest of your questions on your own. We have been doing main idea for every single passage that we read. Remember, we think about what the paragraph is mostly about, and hopefully you're continuing to do that when you're reading by yourself. If not, continue to do that. Read each paragraph and think about what the paragraph is mostly about. That practice is going to help you identify more and more as identify the main idea better and better, as you continue to practice. So let's start with paragraph number 1. The title starts with peppercorns. Black pepper is the world's most traded spice. It is one of the most common spices added to food all around the world. Black pepper is native to South India and is extensively grown or cultivated there and where it is tropical. Vietnam is the world's largest producer and exporter of pepper by producing 34% of the world's pepper crop. So, using our main ideas clues, let's identify what the main idea of this paragraph is. The word that we see over and over again is black pepper. Now, we're going to circle it because today's focus is main idea. So, we're just going to circle our keywords. And you can continue to do that for the rest of the unit. So we see black pepper, there and where it is tropical. Vietnam is the world's largest producer and exporter of pepper. Here it is again, by producing 34% of the world's pepper crop. Okay, so in this case, we learn about black pepper. Well, what about black pepper did we learn? Well, we learned that black pepper is the world's most traded spice, and it is one of the most common spices added to food all around the world. So the reason why it's the most traded spice is because it's the most common added to food all around the world. We learned that black pepper is native to South India and is extensively grown or cultivated there and where it is tropical. And Vietnam is the world's largest producer and exporter. So this whole paragraph talks about how black pepper is the most traded spice. So it talks about why it's the most traded spice, and it talks about who cultivates it, and it talks about who is the largest, or what city or country, is the world's largest producer. So this whole paragraph talks about black pepper being the world's most traded spice. So we're going to take a moment to write it to the side. I know we haven't done this in previous videos, but because today our focus is main idea, we're going to do that today. So black pepper is the world's most traded spice. And notice how it's actually given to me in the first sentence. That's one of my main ideas clues, that sometimes the main idea will be stated in the first or last sentence. Take a moment to write that down, and then let's get ready to move on to paragraph 2. All right, so let's get started on paragraph 2. Black pepper is a flowering vine that is grown for its fruit, which is dried and used for spice and seasoning. When pepper is freshly picked from the plant, it is small in size, dark red, and contains a seed. When dried, the seed is known as peppercorn. So in this case, we see the word that comes up over and over again is seed. Well, not over and over again, but the word that comes up the most is seed. So we see the word seed right there, It talks about which is drying and for spice and seasoning. Pepper is freshly picked from the plant. It is small in size, dark and red, and contains a seed. When dried, the seed is known as peppercorn. So it talks about the seed right there. So basically, this whole paragraph is telling me about how the black pepper is grown for its fruit, which is dried and used for spice and seasoning. So then it talks about when pepper is freshly picked from the plant. It is small in size, dark red, and contains a seed. When dried, the seed is known as peppercorn. So from black pepper, we get the peppercorn. So this whole paragraph talks about what the peppercorn is, or how it's formed. So we know that the main idea of this paragraph is how a peppercorn, because the whole paragraph, guys, talks about like the process of making the peppercorn. So this whole paragraph is talking about how the peppercorn is formed. Oh. Promise, guys, I should get better at this soon. Is formed. Okay. Take a moment to write that down. Oh man, my handwriting is not that neat. Okay, take a moment to write that down, guys, and then once you're done, you can hit pause, write it down, and once you're done, let's move to paragraph 3. All right, moving on to paragraph 3. Black pepper is also a spice with a very strong flavor. The spiciness of black pepper is due to the chemical piperine. Eating too much pepper can be bad for you. If you eat plain pepper, your tongue will feel like it's on fire. You might even feel hot inside. Some people can get sick if they eat too much pepper. Pepper can tickle the inside of your nose and make you sneeze. During a sneeze, air and other stuff can speed out of your nose at 161 kilometers per hour. That's a lot. Or 100 miles per hour. So let's break this paragraph down. Take a moment to think about what the main idea is, and then once you think you have an idea, go ahead and hit play and see if you got it right. Alrighty, so using our main ideas clues, we see that black pepper is a spice with a very strong flavor. So we know from the first sentence, using our first sentence, which is one of our main idea clues, look at the first or last sentence. Our first sentence says that black pepper is also a spice with a very strong flavor. Okay, let's see if anything else supports that. The spiciness of black pepper is due to the chemical piperine. So in this case, it still talks about the spiciness of the black pepper. And then it talks about how eating too much pepper can be bad for you. Okay, so we learned that because of the spiciness of the strong flavor that comes from the pepper, eating too much pepper can be bad for you. Because if you eat plain pepper, your tongue will feel like it's on fire. So if you recall, again, it has a very strong flavor, to the point that if you eat too much of it, you will feel like your tongue will feel like you're on fire. Not only that, but because you eat too much of it, it's going to feel hot inside because of how strong the flavor is. And then some people can get sick if they eat too much pepper. So again, it talks about how it can also make you sick. And then it talks about how pepper can tickle the inside of your nose and make you sneeze. So again, because of that strong flavor, or that spiciness with strong flavor, and that spiciness, again, it's a spice with a very strong flavor, and then the spiciness of black pepper is due to that chemical. Because of that, because if you get that in your nose, it can really tickle inside of your nose and make you sneeze. But not only that, not just like a regular sneeze, but it's a sneeze that is as strong as 100 miles per hour. If you think about that, that's like driving 100 miles per hour on the freeway, which you rarely see. You're not supposed to drive that fast in the freeway, but it's very, very strong speed. So it all has to do because of how strong of a flavor it has. And the reason of that is because of that chemical piperine that comes with it. So we learned in this whole paragraph about how black pepper is a spice with very strong flavor due to the chemical piperine. So let's write that down to the side of it. And we learned that the rest of the sentence support that statement, because then it talks about how because of that strong flavor, eating too much can be bad for you because it can burn it feel like your tongue is on fire. It can make you feel hot inside. You can get sick. It can tickle your nose, and you can breathe out very strongly at 100 miles per hour, which that's really bad. You don't want to go through that. That's actually very strong. So let's write the main idea down. So the main idea of this paragraph is that black pepper. Okay, guys. Okay, the main idea of this paragraph is that black pepper is has a very strong flavor. Did I write that right? Yeah. Black pepper is a spice with very strong flavor due to the chemical piperine. Okay. Take a moment to pause and write that down, and then once you're done, let's get ready to answer our questions. Or actually, let's get ready to think about the main idea of the whole passage. Alrighty, so let's put our main ideas together. So we learned that the first main idea of the first paragraph is how black pepper is the world's most traded spice. And then we learned about how a peppercorn is formed, which, refers to that black pepper. And then on the third paragraph, we learned how black pepper is a spice with very strong flavor due to the chemical piperine. So basically, the whole main idea of this passage is all about black pepper and how black pepper is one of the most traded spice. Even though it doesn't talk a lot about trading in the next two paragraphs, it continues to talk about black pepper, and it talks about like what it's known for, which is why it can be considered one of the most traded spice. Again, the second paragraph talks about like how the peppercorn is formed, which comes in the black pepper. So it encompasses all of it into one. So now that we're ready to actually, now that we read our passage, we're ready to answer our questions. So let's take a moment to answer our questions. If I can find it, guys, give me 1 second. Okay, here it is. And we're doing Unit 8, Day 17. So we're going to continue doing that on this paragraph. I'm sorry, I'm going to start here, guys. Okay, Unit 8, Day 17. So main idea of passage and specific paragraphs. From peppercorns, what is the main idea of the whole passage peppercorns? So I'm going to underline that from peppercorns. What is the main idea of the whole passage peppercorns? Take a moment to circle your keywords and underline your title. And then let's get ready to answer this question. So A, black pepper is native to South India and largely grown in Vietnam. Well, even though it does talk about that on paragraph 1, the whole passage is not about that. If it were to tell me about where Vietnam is located and how it became one of the largest producer, then it would be about that. But because it doesn't talk about more about Vietnam or India, we know that that's not the main idea of the whole passage. And we said that the main idea of the whole passage is how black pepper is the world's most traded spice. Because the author was trying to get that point across, it told me about how where black pepper can be located, where it's most popular. Then it told me about how the black pepper becomes peppercorn, and then it told me about or how the black pepper produces the fruit, which is dried, and because of that, once it's picked, it becomes this, it has this seed, and that seed is known as a peppercorn. And then the last paragraph talked to me about how strong the black pepper is. So all of that kind of supports the idea of how black pepper is the world's most traded spice, right? It explains to you what it is and why it's considered to be one of the most traded spice. So going back to answer choice number B, black pepper is the world's most traded spice. We just said that that might be our best answer. Going to letter C, black pepper can have a strong flavor. Well, it did talk about that, but it only talked about that in paragraph 3, not as a whole passage. If the whole passage told me about how the strong flavor could, what could it do to you, or why it's strong and all that stuff. If the whole passage contained that, then that would be the main idea. But because it's only found in paragraph 3, that's not the main idea. And then letter choice D, black pepper is a flowering vine that grows for its fruit. Yes, again, that's in paragraph 2, but that's not what the whole passage is about. So my best answer is letter choice B. Because again, all of these both paragraphs are meant to give you information about black pepper and to support that statement that is one of the world's most traded spice. Alrighty. So you are going to take a moment to answer question. Not a moment, but you're going to answer questions number 2 through 7. Some of them is going to ask you about the whole passage. Some of them are going to ask you about a specific paragraph. We already discussed about certain paragraphs, so you can take a moment to find out what answer matches with your with the answer that we wrote down to the side. Again, if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to ask Mr. Bello or myself. Alright guys, we're done with our lesson. Again, don't forget to label your next passage for the questions that you're going to have to answer for the next passage. Don't forget to think about the main idea. Main idea is probably one of the hardest things to try and figure out, and we will continue to practice this moving forward. This is not the only time that you're going to see main idea. So if you're struggling, that's totally fine. That's normal. If you have any questions though, Mr. Bello and I will be here to answer any questions that you may have. Again, just try your best. Make sure that you're using those skills to read the passage by yourself. Sound out those words. Take your time. Really think this through and think about what the paragraph is mostly about and what the passage is mostly about. Before I go, I want to give you the word that I was thinking about for at the beginning of the video that I told you. So the word that I was thinking about was the word house. Again, the clue was that it rhymed with mouse and people lived in it. So house was the word that I was thinking of. Hopefully you guys got it. Let me know, and I will see you guys on the next video.